Well, the alleged assassin of Charlie Kirk, Tyler Robinson, sat stone-faced in court yesterday. He was officially charged with murder, could face the death penalty in the state of Utah. He will not be released on bail, and his next hearing is at the end of September. There he was, just sort of sitting via Zoom, stone-faced, wearing a bulletproof vest. Meanwhile, the FBI released a text thread from Tyler Robinson yesterday. The thread is allegedly between Tyler and his trans lover roommate. The text thread is not what we would call convincing. It was apparently sent right after the shooting. Quote,
although we're not sure on that. There's not a timestamp, and it doesn't quite make sense. We're going to talk about this, but the way that they talk is as if the shooting has just happened, but then he references things that the FBI tells us happened the next day. So let's just put a pin in that. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Well, take it from here.
Okay, so here's so a couple people are saying, number one, young people don't text like this with capital letters and punctuation. In my experience, that's true, but okay, that's just one reason to ask questions. Also, it's, you weren't the one who did it, right? I am, I'm sorry. That seems a little cavalier for wait, what? You don't call after that? You keep texting and you say, I left a note. I said exactly how I did it. I'm writing it all here and then delete this later. How stupid do you have to be? There's all kinds of, he says he wishes he could have taken this to the grave. He's saying I need to go back for the weapon, but oh well, I can't lose the weapon. There's a lot that just doesn't add up about this. Now, the liberal media is trying to convince us that what we're witnessing is a very sweet gay love story, to the tune of this should have been on Netflix. These two lovers were the sweetest things we ever saw. Watch ABC News calling the text thread very touching because the killer refers to the alleged killer says to his roommate, you are my love and I'm trying to protect you. Okay.
We have seen an alleged murder with such specific text messages about the alleged murder weapon, where it was hidden, how it was placed, what was on it, but also it was very touching in a way that I think many of us didn't expect. A very intimate portrait into this relationship between the suspect's roommate and the suspect himself, with him repeatedly calling his roommate who was transitioning calling him my love, and I want to protect you, my love. So it was this duality.
Yeah, okay. So touching. Anyway, but here's where things get even more strange. He didn't confess to authorities, but investigators say he had confessed in a note, but that note was destroyed. But they have forensics of its existence. What in the world? You know what? We want to bring in Owen Schroyer now to help us make sense of all of this and talk about some of these inconsistencies and kind of piece all of this together. Owen, your first time here on the show in a while, under your new digs. Great to have you back on the show, my friend. Welcome back.
Well, I was honored to get the invite, and in my little interim time off here before I launch my own show, we don't have to compete against each other in the same time slot. So it's nice to actually be able to join you guys live today.
I know you're always on at the same time as us, so it was difficult to get you on here. So thrilled that you're here. Great to have you. So let's just talk about some of these inconsistencies and kind of unpack some of these things here. So let's just talk about this note. The FBI saying we had this note, we confirmed it through forensics, but now that note's been destroyed. That's one big piece of this. What do you think about that piece of this story?
Well, when we heard Kash Patel's explanation of the note, it was almost so nonsensical that, to me, I kind of just said, okay, this is nonsense, and then ignored it. Because what I've learned in my career in media and trying to hunt down the truth in a world of lies is that people are always going to try to throw distractions at you, right? It's kind of like if you're moving in on somebody or you're trying to escape somebody and you throw a rock over here so it makes a noise, so they look over here, it's like, oh, what was that over here? You just threw a rock over there, and then you escape out the back door. So right. I've kind of been trained that whenever somebody, throws the object to get you to look over there while they escape out the back, you don't look over there. You stay focused on what it is that you're looking at and what it is that you're looking for. Now, having said that, obviously I did look into that. Whatever Kash's explanation of that was, it sounded nonsensical. Maybe it made sense in his own way, or he just, didn't really communicate it well. But nonetheless, when you actually read the letter, it makes even less sense. And how perfectly convenient that it seems to tie up all the loose ends of the official narrative. Isn't that quite convenient as well? And then this is a guy who's apparently just killed somebody, and he's afraid of being grounded by dad. Oh, no, what's going to happen when I get home to dad and grandpa's rifle is gone? I'm going to get grounded. So
Right.
that doesn't
You've
add
got
up
bigger
to me
fish to
either.
fry. Yeah.
Okay, wait. Let's talk about this, because here's a major inconsistency: is that we are told that the parents saw pictures of the rifle and the silhouette of the alleged killer the next day. So we're talking about September 11th, I believe. The killing happened on September 10th. But this chain says he needs to go back for the gun. I've just done this. Oh no, my dad's calling. But in the timeline, the dad doesn't get suspicious until the next day. So he cannot be texting about something that happens tomorrow.
Well, and see, you've done a little more digging than I had. You listened to the object thrown across the room a little bit more than I had. I did more of a surface level evaluation and realized it was total BS. So, but it sounds like the deeper you go into it, the less and less sense it makes. And you know what I like to do in my analysis too, guys, is I do full spectrum analysis, and then I do possibility spectrum. And so when I think about the note, this is my possibility spectrum in my opinion. My possibility spectrum is maybe the boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever the situation was with this lover, this partner, maybe there was some other involvement, and the partner of the alleged assassin decided that they were going to concoct this stuff to try to clear maybe their own name or other people's names. So maybe they concocted this thing to try to throw the scent of the FBI off of maybe some other people that might have been involved. Or,
Right, that's possible, because if they live together, then I can go in Clayton's computer and have a text chain with myself, right? Because iMessage syncs across devices. But he also talks about, because in the indictment it says that the family brings over this family friend who is an ex-sheriff or law enforcement, and they try to talk him into confessing. Now, this is referenced in the text chain, which seems to have happened the day before. So how does he know this is going to happen? And they're not giving us timestamps on this text chain. So
right.
that
Well,
none of that adds up.
And clearly it is fabricated. Now, that doesn't mean that the text might not have actually happened, but what they presented to us is basically a fabrication. So that gets me to the other end of the possibility spectrum, which is this was just concocted by the FBI. Now, that could mean that it was concocted by the FBI whole cloth and it has no basis in reality, or it was concocted by the FBI after having a conversation or two, and they try to recreate a note or a conversation that was had, whatever, and then they present it to the American public in the fashion that they see best to fit whatever it is that they're trying to sell us. But either way, I look at it as a distraction at this point. And, I would still say, I don't know. The whole thing is so crazy right now. It's hard to reach any conclusions other than a few conclusions that I think it's fair to reach at this point. But, I would say, maybe the FBI has reached the right conclusion. Maybe the FBI has given us the right final conclusion, which is this was a left-wing assassin. So maybe that might be the case. I'm not convinced of that. That might be the odds-on favorite. But it seems like the route that they took to get there was goofy. It was silly. It was goofy. And maybe the FBI just botched this thing so badly, and law enforcement botched it, and maybe it was just botched so badly from the beginning that they're just kind of sitting there in this embarrassing moment like, guys, we got to give them something. We got to give them something. We got to cut.
Well, they absolutely botched it from the beginning. I mean, they quote unquote, arrested the wrong guys, put out a press release, went out right to the podium, said we got him, only to release him later. But there's also this narrative about his clothing. I want to talk about this clothing piece of this, which is strange on its own. So surveillance shows Robinson in a maroon T-shirt, light shorts, black cap before the shooting, apparently, allegedly. But then prosecutors say he changed outfits. And we talked to former FBI whistleblower Kyle Serafin, who said this is part of the process. You would change outfits, like to throw people off your trail, change a ball cap, whatever, right? That would be par for the course.
Sure, Jason Bourne does that.
Yeah, then after the attack. But then later to put on the very same maroon shirt and black shorts back on by the time he was arrested. Like, what in the world? It doesn't make any sense. Changing to hide evidence and then returning to the original look that you had when you were on camera and you showed up. Like, that doesn't make sense at all.
Yeah, and neither does the assembling, disassembling, reassembling, all that doesn't seem to make any sense to anybody either. Yeah, none of it adds up. And I think that that's why people are sitting here, let's say conspiracy theorizing, because the official story just doesn't add up. That's a fact. And to me, the biggest smoking gun here, no pun intended, but to me, the biggest smoking gun is the footage that we're not seeing, right? Why aren't we seeing the footage of all the security cameras on campus that he was definitely on at some point? The footage of him getting up onto the roof. Why aren't we seeing the HD footage that was right there, right next to Charlie when he was shot, including the most important video in my mind, which is the HD footage from behind him? And this is a very important distinction to make for people that aren't in media. You might not understand all this. I'm not trying to be insulting, but you have to understand, you have people there that are live streaming, and you have the Turning Point live streaming this event, but then you have HD cameras that are just filming, meaning they're getting full 4K resolution, as clear of a picture you can get. I count at least 3 of those filming at the time, and we have seen none of that footage, including the most important video footage, which was the HD camera set up right behind Charlie, where if you actually go back, when they destroyed the crime scene, which, by the way, was like a crime in and of itself, what they did to the crime scene, the first thing that happens is they go and they take that camera down. Who has that footage? That is the most important footage for this entire story. Who has that footage? Now, I'm not going to sit here and say, I demand that footage, and if you don't give us that footage, then it's your fault. Maybe they're holding it for a reason, and maybe they'll deliver it at some point, but they haven't yet. And to me, that's the biggest thing.
We need full transparency. Yeah, it was right after the event. As soon as he's carted off by those 6 individuals who carry him to the SUV, they immediately start taking that camera off of the tent. I think there was 2 cameras there. The one right behind him, they start disassembling and taking off. Who has that camera? Who has that footage?
We don't need this, boys.
I think one was a camera, and I think one was a audio receiver. That's what I see when I look at it. I think one is the camera, one is an audio receiver. But either way, it doesn't change. That we know at least one of those is a camera, and that is the ultimate footage. That is the ultimate footage.
And why give us a still shot at all? They have the ability to give us him walking down the stairs, and they're saying he was limping because it seems like there was something in his pants, and so he couldn't bend his knee. But then in the images, he's bending his knee. So give us the footage. Let us see that for ourselves.
So
this is the year 2025. We can download video.
Yep. And think about it like this too, because you know what? Now that you say that, I hadn't even thought about this before. So that means at some point he jumps off the roof. And in this video, the gun is concealed, right? We don't see the gun. Maybe it's broken down in a bag. Maybe it's down his leg. It doesn't look that way, but we really don't know, right? But then later, or I mean, we're told in the private security video. By the way, the most important videos we got here didn't come from the government. They came from private sources. So that's a little odd too. But so the security camera, it's on a doorbell. I believe it's a Ring camera, where that's the one where he's limping. And it looks like he's got the gun barrel down his leg. So again, it's like, well, then what is going on here? So he has it down his leg, and then he disassembles it, and then he shoots it, and then he reassembles. Like, none of it makes any sense. And they haven't even tried to lay out a linear timeline of events with evidence to sell us this official narrative. Now, again, maybe they will. Maybe they will, and they'll prove that they've reached the conclusions for the right reasons, and they can prove it all to the American people, but they haven't yet. And there's way too many glaring holes in the official narrative that make it look like we're being lied to.
Colonel Towner Watkins, friend of the show, she's done incredible research on Operation Gladio. We've interviewed her on the show, retired U.S. Air Force, brilliant woman. About the leave behind armies, the NATO terrorist leave behind armies. I just want to put this tweet that she posted up here because it speaks to what we were just talking about, like by being distracted by other things. She said, for those of you focused on where the bullet came from, the towel, the gun in the backpack or note, you're doing exactly what those behind the assassination want you to do. You miss the big picture on purpose. In the big picture, she says, Operation Gladio conducted assassinations, terror attacks, bombings, etc. that were orchestrated to control you. The government intelligence agencies, NATO, stay-behind assets have either created or infiltrated every organization left, right, and center. They orchestrated the far-right violence. See PatCon as an example. They orchestrated the far-left violence. It's called the strategy of tension, she says. They use this to control you, this fear. And I feel that. I absolutely feel that she's right. They're using this right now. They're giving us little drips and drabs of information, and then we get distracted by the note, we get distracted by the gun, we get distracted by the camera. There is a larger narrative playing out here.
Yeah, and that's why, as I was explaining earlier, I'm focused on the things that we can see, at least the best to our ability with the footage we have, which is Charlie that day. And I mean, my God, it's gruesome footage. I mean, God bless all of our souls, and God bless Charlie's family. That they had to see that, the kids. I mean, I can't even imagine. But we're forced to sit there, and that's what I've been focused on, is examining that. And to me, I believe that we're looking at an exit wound. I'm convinced by experts in ballistics. I'm convinced by experts in guns and shooting. We're talking about Marine snipers. I mean, top level ballistics, snipers, everything. And they've convinced me that is an exit wound.
Wait, so coming from behind him?
No, from his neck. So let me see if this jives with what we've...
The entry wound would be, what it appears to me is that the entry wound is behind his right ear, and the exit wound is the gruesome wound that we see in the front of his neck.
Ah, okay.
But he falls backwards.
Hold on, let me just point out.
So here's why that would happen. If he gets hit in the back and the bullet hits his brain or spinal cord, the first thing your body does is seize up. So okay. I think that's why that would have happened. And if you watch the video frame by frame, what you'll see is, and this gets to where I debunk the body armor argument. I'd say I'm 99.9% convinced that this is the case. And if you watch it frame by frame, you'll see what I'm talking about, or you've watched my reports. Charlie Kirk has an earpiece in his right ear. The earpiece, much like the one I have in right here, has a wire that runs behind his ear. Now, for this event, and this happens a lot of times for people that do live media and such, the wire is going to go down around his neck, and it's going to come back around over here to the other side, and it's going to go down here. He then clips his microphone on his shirt. That's the microphone. That's clipped to the earpiece wire. And then the earpiece wire runs back down here to whatever the audio source is. Now, so that's why when people see the shirt anomalies, they think it's body armor. That's just an earpiece. Now, there's an angle that you can see. I covered it on my show, where you can clearly see the moment of impact. The earpiece flies out. That's what causes the shirt to raise up like this, because the earpiece wire flies out. And then, of course, the mic goes flying, and it has that weird shape in the shirt. Because that is an audio wire. That is an earpiece wire. And so to me, that's what debunks the body armor. Plus, you can see him walking around before. He's got a very lightweight shirt on, and you can see, you can see his chest, you can see his nipples. So I don't believe there's any body armor there. I believe he was directly shot in the neck. And you can see, to me, the moment of impact, the earpiece flies out, the wire flies up, and then the exit wound.
Okay.
Fascinating. Well, yeah, we still need confirmation on this soft body armor, using one of those sort of maybe perhaps tactical body armors. They're very lightweight, that are meant for handgun protection, that look like no sleeves. And so I think we're still waiting on that confirmation. And
why would you have body armor that leaves your nipples exposed?
It's great questions. These are all the things we're still grappling with.
It's like a nursing bra. I don't think that's a thing.
Owen, thank you so much for this. You fired up a lot of people in the chat room, and I think, I want a full transparency. I want full transparency investigation. I know some people in Washington, D.C. right now very much pushing the White House to make sure that we get a full transparent investigation from the FBI, but God knows. With the history of everything we've been dealing with, are we going to get a transparent investigation? I don't know. Owen, great to see you, my friend. Thank you so much. Good luck with the new show. When does it launch?
October 6th, the Owen Report, 3 to 6 p.m. Central weekdays. Really excited for it. And thank God now we're in the internet age, so people can still watch both of our shows. They can go back and watch yours or mine later.
Indeed.
All right.
Owen, great to see you. Thank you so much.
Thanks for being a contemporary. Cheering you on.
Thanks, Owen.